Hello and welcome to another video where I read through my thoughts, comments, reflections, whatever I was thinking at the end of every single chapter of The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. So today I'm going to be focusing on chapters 34 to 40. So today, as I said, I read a chapter and then I write a page of notes in my book. This is the page of notes on Chapter 34, The Last Village, which I'm about to read through with you. And I've done that for every chapter of both The Eye of the World and The Great Hunt so far, and started with The Dragon Reborn. And I'm loving being able to slowly read through and pay attention to whatever I feel like. I don't feel like I have to retain every single thing. If I was doing that, I'd need to write more than a page. But in being able to just read through and notice what I notice and let go what I don't, and revisit pages and chapters just through what I paid attention to. I think that it's been really fun. So I hope you're enjoying these videos. Let me know if you are. Let me know if you're finding the journey the same, if you're experiencing the same kind of things as you read. And let's begin with chapter 34, The Last Village. A stroke of luck, finally, for Matt and Rand. Bunt gave them a ride to Camlin. He doesn't seem the type to go looking for the false dragon, so that's just a little bit of a side note. I don't feel that that's something that he would do. So him going to Camlin and offering the boys the ride is great. Matt's complaining is really frustrating, but at least he's realizing that they can't stay at an inn again at this stage. That's growth. And I'm saying that about Matt, who still annoys me beyond belief, but there's a little bit of growth there. He's understanding. I think slowly they're beginning to start seeing how much danger they're in, how they need to hide themselves, and the smart decisions that need to be made. I don't think that they'll keep making the smart decision all the time, but it's a start. It's growth. I think that sort of says to me that it might take more for Matt, but he is going to start developing a little bit more sense at some point. They got some good insight into the Queen and the royal family. If Bunt is an average Andorian for this particular area, because the boys are Andorian as well, which I hadn't put two and two together, but they're Andorian. So if Bunt is an average Andorian for this particular area near the capital, then they are getting some solid info regarding loyalty. Also, knowing that there's another Aes Sedai in the area is a really great thing, but it's not so good that they think she might help them. I find it really interesting here that why would they all of a sudden trust a stranger, an Aes Sedai, when they haven't trusted, they still hesitate to trust Moraine. They don't trust her even a little bit, and yet they're willing to, or they're talking about potentially going and trusting a strange Aes Sedai, one they've never met. It makes no sense, but maybe it's that sign of growth that they're starting to think. They're not there yet, but maybe Matt and Rand are starting to think things through about not what they want to do, but what they need to do. Still don't think it's a good idea, but they're thinking things through. And that, again, growth. Now, Rand needs help with his dreams really quickly. If he doesn't get help soon, I actually think something bad is gonna happen. On page 522, there's a quote that I wrote down. The dragon is one with the land, and the land is one with the dragon. I think this is interesting that it comes to him in his dreams. I don't really know much more or have much more to say about it. I just think that is a really interesting quote that gives us a clue that I can't quite decipher yet, but I'm assuming it's linked in some way with what happened in the prologue and other places around that sort of the breaking and those kind of things. And will they get caught up in the false dragon stuff in Camlin? Like, that could be quite dangerous for Matt and Rand to get caught up in any of that. So I hope that they avoid it as much as possible. But I mean, knowing these two, they'll be right in the middle of it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're right in the middle of it, something's going down and Moraine has to swoop in and save them, and that's how she arrives. But we'll see. We'll see. Chapter 35, Camlin. They've found a friend in Master Gil, or at least someone who will help them unless it gets too much for him. I think we all have those kind of friends, don't we? People who will help us until it becomes too difficult. But I'm really happy that they've finally found someone, trusted someone, and their trust doesn't appear to be misplaced at this stage. Tom being a royal bard makes actually a lot of sense when I think about it, as does his relationship with the Queen. I don't think he actually wanted the boys and himself, the villagers, to get this far along the journey. I feel that he'd hoped to convince them to go somewhere else instead of off with Moraine. I think that's why he had wanted to go with them. I really can't imagine that he wanted to end up back in Camlin if this was his history. At least I've got a little bit more of an understanding about what Tom was hiding. I still think he might be hiding something else, but it's some insight. And Master Gil agrees with me, because I'm all-knowing in this sense, but he agrees that Tom isn't dead. I wonder if he'll show up before or after Moraine. He knows that they'll be in Camlin. That's where the boys would have been heading if they got, and that's why he said about Master Gil, I assume, or sent them to this place. So at least Tom knows where they are, and he could pop up at any point. So really at this stage, I'm just wondering, will Tom arrive first and try and convince the boys to leave before anyone else arrives? Or will Moraine get there first and then it falls apart or something? I don't know. But then if Tom arrives first and he tries to convince Matt and Rand to leave, I can't imagine them leaving without Egwene and Perrin and Nynaeve. So I guess that will keep them where they are until the others arrive, if it's safe. So chapter 36, Web of the Pattern. Like a web of the pattern, like a spider. So tapestries and spiders and weavers and all this I love. Again, the chapter titles are just fantastic. I think I mentioned this in the last video. I think the imagery that is present in the chapter titles is just beautiful. So the darkness or depression so often found with paranoia in the real world, let alone anywhere else, is taking over Matt. So does he love the dagger due to safety, due to it being treasure, or is it Mordeth? Kind of like a Gollum situation. Is the dagger the ring in this fantasy? I know that Robert Jordan doesn't just follow Lord of the Rings, but you can see the influences coming through, and so it's kind of, Matt's got this sort of Gollum-esque quality going on in a way, and so I've got a lot of questions. Now, I already love Loial. I already love Loial, and will be surprised if he doesn't travel with Rand now, or at least in the future at some point. I just think what a beautiful character, and I hope that we see more of him as we go through. I hope that this isn't just a cameo or a little brief introduction and then we have to wait for a long time. I really hope that he travels with Rand for a while. Now the web, the word Loial uses, Tamaral Allen. Some of these words are difficult. The web swirling. There is change on its way dependent on the lives and choices of the group. And I think we could feel that right from the start with the talk of the pattern, but I just think that idea of the web swirling, I'm loving some of the language choices in this, the the way that Robert Jordan creates these incredible images is just lovely. Are all Ogiers as trustworthy as Loial? It's like Rand almost instantly went from insane fear, like that sort of terrible fear that there was a Trolloc in the room, to instantly telling Loial everything. So he obviously felt, I mean, Rand does this often. He just sort of spills his guts to whoever's listening. He trusts people a little bit too much. But is this something about Ogiers, or is this about Loial in particular? Does he feel safe? And probably more importantly, was that a wise decision? I mean, who knows at this stage? I don't think an Ogier will be a problem, especially given, I just think Loial is just this beautiful character. I don't feel any distrust of him whatsoever. And Loial all but confirmed in this interaction that Rand is Ale, so of the wasteland. Is it Ale? Is that how you say it? But it's basically confirmation in my mind that that is where he originally came from, or where his parents are from. And again, I'm expecting to find out more about that as soon as possible at some point. Chapter 37, The Long Chase. Nynaeve has shown more practical skills in the whole book than any of the other villagers. I'm sure that they've got some skills. They'd have to, right? Their parents would have taught them something, especially Rand, Perrin and Mat. Gwen, I'm assuming, has some skills that her mum would have taught her, and the boys would have learnt trades. Like, we know that Perrin has been like an apprentice, a blacksmith apprentice, and Rand's obviously learning how to be a farmer, but Nynaeve has more practical skills that are actually useful in this situation. Even in fear, she keeps a clear head, and I think that is really key to her character. I think that is something we are going to see play into this. She's going to be able to keep a clear head. She has some respect for Lan, even if he's wary of her. Once again, Moiraine is being arrogant, but I'm not surprised. She's not telling Nynaeve any more than the basic information that Moiraine deems Nynaeve needs to know. If Nynaeve had more information, she'd be so much more help in this situation. I think if Moiraine can get over that arrogance and Nynaeve can get over her distrust of Moiraine, that they could become a really incredible team. But at this stage, neither of them seem to want to work with each other. Hopefully Nynaeve getting Bella will prove to help them in the long run, as opposed to being a wasted effort. I'm really happy that Bella isn't going to disappear, because I did just praise her in one of the previous chapters. I think Bella is incredible. What an incredible horse. Love a good horse character. I think they can have so much personality, even if they're not mentioned that often. Like, Bella is just sort of a background character, but a character she is. They may end up traveling with wolves if Alias returns, as he said to Egwene and Perrin that he would. The wolf presence in the area suggests he's nearby, but he also could be avoiding them because he's seen that they're safe now and that they don't need him. He does seem wary of other people, so that does make sense. If he's seen that they're safe, he wouldn't approach. Chapter 38, Rescue. Lan is getting attached to the two river folk. There's some slight disagreement between him and Moiraine. First, when he would have gone to find Nynaeve, and Moiraine wouldn't let him. Second was disagreeing that Perrin's wolf affinity was not necessarily a bad or dark thing. He actually knew Alias was a warder, and I think that is probably something that Lan maybe didn't like the treatment of Alias, and that may have been something that is a point of tension between the two. It's very intriguing. Not all warders are blind followers of the Aes Sedai, but what changed for Alias? What created this dissension, I suppose, from the ranks? And is it going to be a similar kind of thing is Lan going to face that at some point? I feel that this sort of plants a little bit of a seed that maybe Lan will not be as quiet all the time. But for Elias, was it the wolf stuff? Or did something else happen first that made him not follow them blindly? Nynaeve has skills and the girls have a friendship, and it's really good to see them together because I think it was quite easy. Like, I know that I probably didn't pay as much attention to the fact that these two have a friendship. It's not just a mentorship and as Nynaeve as teacher. There is an actual friendship there, and it's really nice to see them together again. Will we see from Nynaeve's point of view again, or will we only see Perrin's now? I think that's really, it's interesting choices who was chosen when they're separated to be able to see what's unfolding from their point of view, as opposed to, we could have seen the stories from any of their points of view. I'd like to see a bit of both Nynaeve and Perrin, maybe some of the others as well, that would be nice, but not too much either. I do think at this stage it's nice to just slowly get to know them, as opposed to swapping and changing. Like in Game of Thrones, it can become quite, I mean, that's even more difficult because the stories take place in different places, but I think it would be a bit too much to be swapping and changing every chapter to a different point of view. But it would be nice as we continue to start seeing from the others' viewpoint a little bit more. If they're heading to Camlin now, are they going to run into the same white cloaks again? It seems that they're heading to Camlin as well, so that's a potential place, a potential bit of danger that they could face. That's not a dark friend as such, or a fade, or a trolloc. It's a different kind of danger. And on top of that, did Perrin get his axe? I can't quite remember. Hope he got his axe, because that's Perrin's connection to home. That's his thing that he brought from home. So I hope that he got it, but I really can't remember. Chapter 39, Weaving of the Web. Matt definitely needs help. Is he still holding the dagger, or is the problem bigger than that? Like, has he let go of it? Or has he been constantly touching it? Or is there something else going on? Has he been infected? Is it not the dagger? Maybe the dagger is a red herring, and maybe something else happened in Mordeth, or maybe something else happened along the way. Rand's exploration of the city is so vivid. I can imagine the crowds, how uncomfortable it would be for Rand as a villager, and also just how uncomfortable it would be anyway, having that many people there. It sounds like the city has so many more people in it than it would normally have. So I think it was just such a vivid description. I could really picture what was going on and feel what Rand would have been feeling. Now, I'm sure the beggar who has popped up is Peddler Fane. He's going to bring trouble if he doesn't shut his mouth. I really think that he just needs, like, I'm worried about what trouble he is going to cause, because he just seems to be bringing attention to Rand constantly. And why is he following? Like, what is going on there? I have no idea why he is following them and causing so many little problems along the way. I half expected Logan to make eye contact with Rand. Maybe it's a good thing he wasn't close enough to do that properly. With the laughter, it sounds like he has a touch of the madness that Rand has experienced, which tells me that, yeah, he definitely has some connection to the source. He is obviously a male at Aes Sedai, and that there is some connection there between Rand and himself in some way. I do wonder if we'll hear more of Logan's story at some point, how where he came from, how he became who he is, how he was caught. I think that would be an interesting bit of insight, but not necessary, so I wouldn't be surprised either way. And the final chapter for today is chapter 40, the Web Titans. And again, it's the web. Obviously something that it's pulling it together. Like, there's a trap almost. I feel like that Rand is getting caught up in something he can't escape from. That's what it makes me think about. I believe we've just met a few people who we will see again. Princess Elaine and Prince Gawain, particularly, but also their half-brother, I can't remember his name, and the Aes Sedai are later. How soon we see them again, I don't know. I think that there's probably a lot happening in this chapter that will come back, but not a whole lot stands out to me as things that I've commented on. The plot is really thickening around Rand's ancestry in particular. We already basically know he's an Ailman, but here's more proof being pieced together for him. The fact that people are recognizing him as an Ailman or telling him that that's what he looks like, and yet he's still denying it, baffles me. Like I guess like if you don't want to know something, you're going to ignore it right up until the minute you cannot deny it anymore. So it does make sense, but I just think it's, no matter how many things need to point towards his ancestry before he finally accepts it. But I guess that I'm not surprised that it will take him so long, given his character, given that he's in denial about a whole lot of things and a lot of other things going on in his mind. He won't want to admit any of this, even if I think he really does know deep down that Tam is not his father. I do think he knows that. He just hasn't accepted it yet. And as he pieces things together, I think, and has time to actually sit down and reflect on it and accept it, I think he will be happier for that, and less confused. Maybe not happier. I don't think he will be happy. I think he would have been just happy staying in the Two Rivers area. But the sooner he sort of accepts things, the better for his sake. So there we have it. That is another video, another lot of chapter reflections. I need to give them a proper name of what I'm actually doing, but there's another collection of my thoughts on chapters 34 to 40, and I hope you enjoyed them. I hope that it's giving you some interesting insights into what I pay attention to when I'm reading, and I'm wondering whether you notice the same things that I do, because as I say, we all notice different things. We all like different things about the books that we read, and we're all drawn to certain things. So I love to hear what you've got to say. Like, comment, subscribe, join the conversation, and I will have some more videos. There are 2 more videos to go before I reach the end of the Eye of the World, and they will be out next week.